Hello, this is Raf Alvarado, and welcome to Exploratory Text Analytics. So you've seen how to create a notebook. It's actually very simple. We're going to be using a lot of notebooks in this class, so let's get started on doing something a little more complicated. Not that much more complicated. We're going to write a notebook that takes a file from the web, downloads it, and opens it up into a pandas data frame. And we're just going to leave it at that. Let's just call this notebook. Let's create a new notebook here. I'm going to click on the plus sign. Actually, I already have the launcher open. If I click on the plus sign, all that does is open this launcher tab. So I'm going to go to this tile right here and just start up Python. So what I want to do is, I know I'm going to use a library called pandas. So I'm going to import the library called pandas as PD. And what that means is now, going forward, I can invoke the pandas library by just using the word or the string PD. So I'm going to do that. And I'm also going to go onto Project Gutenberg's website and download an eText from there, or an ePublication as they call them. So let's actually go to that website and find a text to download. And here I'm going to show my toolbar so I can access the URL bar. I'm going to go to Google and say Project Gutenberg. And I'm interested in downloading Jane Austen's novel Persuasion. So I'm going to go to Project Gutenberg, and there you go. And I'm just going to put in Austen as the last name of the author I'm interested in looking at, and we'll see what we end up with here. Oh, I see right away, we see that there is Persuasion, and I'm going to click on that. So here we have a typical page from Gutenberg where we will be getting some texts during the semester. And you can see that they publish text in a lot of different formats. And what we're going to be interested in primarily are the plain text formats. UTF-8 meaning it's a Unicode format, which is what we prefer. I'm going to click on this, and we're going to get, in the URL, we'll see it's a .txt file. We're going to get the raw text file that we're interested in working with. To get this file, we're going to do something very simple that we probably won't do later when we get more sophisticated and use Python to do our downloading for us. Here we're just going to take use the browser save command and save the file to the same directory where our notebook is, so we can access it easily from our notebook. Here I'm going to just therefore go into File, Save Page As, and I'm just going to find where my file is. Here I'm already in the directory where my notebook is, but in your case, you'll have to find the directory where your notebooks are and download this file into that directory. So here I'm going to take this file, pg105.txt, and I'm going to save it into the same directory where my file is. I had already downloaded this earlier, but I'm going to do it again and replace the file. So now let me go to my notebook, and you'll see that it's here. And I can look at it and see that it has a certain structure to it. And this is an important part of the process of acquiring textual data, is physically looking at it and getting an idea of how it's structured. Every source of text is a little bit different. With the Gutenberg text, they all have this front matter, this boilerplate stuff about Project Gutenberg, and there's a lot of stuff at the end. In a later video, I'm going to show you how to get rid of that stuff in a systematic way. And also how to parse this file into structured data. But right now we're just going to take this file and suck it into a data frame line by line just to get you started with that process. Okay, so here we are in our notebook, and we've imported pandas. Now let's import, as it were, the file into a data frame. We know the file is named pg105.txt. So let's do things this way. We're going to create a list, a Python list called lines, and we're going to use the open function, which is your general file open and read and write utility within Python. I'm going to access this file, pg 105.txt, and we're going to access it in read mode. And then we're going to do this thing that we can do very neatly in Python. We're going to call a method from this open function, and we're going to call the readLines method. And what that's going to do is it's going to loop through the contents, it's going to pull in that text file, it's going to read it into memory, and it's going to loop through each line and return a list object with all those lines in it. So let's just do that real quickly. You'll see that did it very fast. And I'm just going to look at the first 5 lines of that. And there you are. I can look at the last lines if I want to. Let's see. Actually, yeah, let's do the last 5 lines. There we are. You can see that in both cases, you have what is in effect boilerplate from the Gutenberg website, as I showed you earlier. So now what we want to do is take this lines list and put it into a data frame. So I'm just going to call the data frame Austin equals, and we're going to use a data frame constructor from Pandas called data frame. And the data frame constructor is very powerful and flexible. It can take lots of different things. One of the things it can take is just a straight up list, and we're going to put lines in there, and it's going to return a data frame for us. So let's look at Austin, and it's going to show us the first few lines and the last few lines in this data frame. So again, we can see that we've got mainly boilerplate showing up here, but we're in Pandas. So actually, let me show you a sample of the lines from that data frame. So I'll just use the sample method and get 10 random lines from the text. And here we have sportsman, the room was cleared, and Anne blah blah, she might be useful in turning back, spine, and so forth. These are just random lines from the text returned by the sample method associated with the data frame. Here are another 10 lines. Now you'll see also that we have a data frame here that has a column named 0, which is not very good, and we have an index here in bold that isn't labeled either. Okay, so let's take this data frame Austin and add some labels for the column and for the index. One quick way of doing that is just by assigning a list of values to the column attribute of the data frame. So if I say Austin.columns, I can assign it a list, and that list of values should correspond to the number of columns in the data frame. And what it'll do is it'll take that list and overwrite whatever existing column names there are. So here we have one called 0, but I'm going to overwrite it with line string, or str, to symbolize the data type here. And so now I have Austin. I'll show the head of that data frame. We'll see that it has a new column name called line string, which is more meaningful. I also want to rename this index. And so I'll do that by using the way that you rename indices. So Austin index.name is a little bit different than what we did with the columns. And there I will call it line num for line number. Austin. There we go. And there we have it. So we're going to get into a little bit later. We're going to talk about in the next, actually in the next lesson, we're going to talk about what an index is in a data frame and why it's important for the kind of work we're doing. And of course, we'll learn more and more about how to understand and manipulate data frames as we go forward. But what you've got now under your belt is just a quick understanding of how to take a raw text file and to suck it into a data frame. And once it's in this data frame format, then we can start using all the power of Pandas to manipulate that data. We're going to be able to use Pandas, in fact, to do a lot of munging work, often what's called data wrangling, to convert this text of lines into a vector space model representation of the text. And we'll take our first steps toward doing that conversion next week.